Hey guys, Coach LZGlowz here. In today's lesson, we will learn how you should think when it comes to deciding what path to take to get to a location on the map, as well as when to change plans and rotate to another site or location. By the end of this workout, you will have the basic mindset and decision-making skills to effectively path to the location you desire or to rotate to another location, while minimizing unnecessary risks. Let's first warm up by getting comfortable and familiar with the layouts of the various maps in Valorant. Spend around 10 to 15 minutes in custom games while choosing and changing the maps. Make sure cheats are on and try to select Omen if you can. When in game, turn on infinite abilities and Omen out to a random location. If you don't have Omen, you can instead just run to a random location on the map. Once in a location, pull up the map and try to find all the possible paths to get to a specific site or location. Then, brainstorm which path is the safest and which ones are most likely to counter enemies. This will get us familiar with the pathing mindset. I first wanted to discuss that pathing and rotation is something that you'll get better at over time. It takes trial and error, past experiences, and past decision making to not only have a good pathing and rotation game sense, but to be able to do it quickly. Your pathing and rotation decision making will also be affected by your immediate match. Each match has different players, and both your teammates and opponent playstyles will affect how risky or how safe certain pathings will be, as well as how impactful or harmful certain rotation calls will be. Pathing and rotation decision making not only will rely on experience, but how well you're able to adapt and match into the enemy's playstyle. We will first discuss pathing and rotation for attackers when attacking a site. The site you initially want to attack is already a form of pathing. As a team, you can either decide to push onto the site together through the main choke, or you could try splitting your team's pathing. Some teammates, maybe even you, will enter the site from an alternative entrance or choke. If your team is able to consistently fight the enemy one-on-one and win, splitting is good since it allows your team to get more map control. But if your teammates keep dying off a split push, then it's best to keep everyone together to get trades. Once you get onto site, pathing should lead you to get control of the whole site. Most times, it will be clearing angles and getting control of backsite. It should be noted that this will not be optimal for all maps, since they are either too big or it will not be necessary. Breeze A site, for example, does not require pathing beyond the pyramids since it's too big to control and most teams will play post-plant and cave. The time you may want to deviate from this pathing rule is if it's 1v3 or 2v3, since you will want to take more aggressive angles to get picks and catch the enemy team off guard. If your team does push a site from one entrance and is unable to smoke the alternative entrance, make sure to path to either hold or clear the entrance from site. Examples of this would be A baths and B gardens on bind. On attack, maps like Ascent and Split allow whole teams to path up mid. They may have an initial decision to path to a certain site, but once certain interactions happen, such as getting a kill or losing a teammate, they then may decide to change plans and rotate to a different site. This is why pathing mid is a strong option on attack, since it allows teams to quickly change their plan of attack for a more successful one. This is the essence of rotating. Rotating basically means going from one site to another. For attacking, it means to go from attacking one site to another. The decision to rotate can be based on many things. If they have the majority of their team on the site, 3 or more, then quickly rotating to another site will allow your team to take control of the site and plan easily, since you will most likely have numbers advantage. If they have a sentinel like Killjoy, it may be easier to make noise and then rotate to the other site. This is because sentinels like Killjoy and Cypher make it very hard to get site control, which not only buys time for the enemy team to rotate to the site you are trying to attack, but can give them opportunities for easy kills. Rotating through spawn is the safest pathing, but does give the enemy team time to rotate back to the other site. Rotating through mid is the fastest route, and the enemy team won't be fast enough to rotate to the other site, but does run the risk of fighting the enemy team while being out in the open. Sometimes, rotating is not worth it. This is when learning how the enemy plays and adapting to it comes into play. Many times when the enemy team sees a lot of people trying to attack one site, they almost all will rotate to help fight. When it's quiet, they'll assume that the attackers are rotating, in which the defenders will rotate back to defend the other site. Knowing the enemy team's response when it's quiet can be used to your advantage. Cutting noise to get the defenders to rotate off the site will allow you to re-hit the site more easily. If the majority of the enemy team stays at the site even after cutting noise, then you know you can rotate to the other site with numbers advantage. When solo pathing or lurking on attack, you need to consider where the other team may be and the angles they are holding. For example, on Ascent, if your team is pushing site from A main and you are lurking at B link, you first need to decide if you want to path to your team safely, quickly, to get kills, or a combination. The safest way to path is usually through spawn. If you want to path quickly, then mid to tree will be best, but you will have to be careful of tree and bottom mid since the other team may have someone holding it. If you want kills, pathing mid can get you picks, but if you're really feeling greedy, pathing through bottom mid to their spawn to A heaven will get you picks not only from people rotating from B site, but may also give you a big flank. The only reason why this may be poor pathing is because it may run the risk of someone holding an angle throughout it, and it's very slow. In summary, pathing through mid allows for quick pathing and rotation, but runs the risk of fighting people at multiple angles. Pathing through spawn is the safest route, and rotation should be done when the other side has less numbers and or no sentinels. Pathing and rotation for defenders is similar to attackers but much more straightforward. Unlike attackers, when defenders hold a site, they don't really need a path to it since they have time during the buy round to set up and position themselves. Pathing comes into play when deciding how to initially defend a site. Depending on playstyle, some players, like duelists, will take an aggressive angle and fight the enemy. After getting a pick or getting some damage, they then will play on site behind cover and wait for the enemy team to push the site. If they get too damaged, they then may path off the site and play for a retake. Someone playing on site may decide to stay, but if there are too many people and not enough util to stall, they may path to an offsite angle or path offsite entirely and play retake. This decision on playing for retake is an adaptation on how well you can or cannot fight the other enemy team. When the enemy team goes to another site, this is where pathing and rotation for defenders can get tricky. For rotation, as we went over previously, you have to decide whether or not you want to help the other site, or anchor and gamble that the attacking team does not rotate. Usually, it is best to initially fully rotate all but one player. As the rounds pass and you get a better feel of how the enemy rotates and attacks, then you can change up how many people rotate. For many maps, rotating through spawn is the safest route to help the other site. Going through mid is not necessarily faster, and it runs the risk of not only fighting an untradeable fight, but a whole rotating team. It does however give map control, a possible flank, and possible impactful kills. Now that we have an understanding on how to path and when to rotate, let's get into some swift play matches. When on attack, take risky split pushes and lurks by pathing through an alternative entrance or pathing through mid. Mix timing between slow and fast to get an idea on how long defenders will hold certain angles, as well as how fast you need to be to effectively help your team. Play with your team too. When they decide to rotate, or when you call a rotate, try rotating through both mid and spawn. Recognize how many times you fight the enemy mid, and how many times the enemy player was able to rotate to the other site when you rotated through spawn. When defending, mix when you decide to anchor and not anchor, and know when the enemy team was able to easily rotate, take site, and plant when no one was on the other site. Try mixing and pathing through their spawn or mid when they are at the other site and you think they will rotate. With that, we have covered the basics of pathing and rotating. Keep in mind these are the standard practices and deviations will occur based on specific situations, circumstances, and maps. On attack, path based on how quick you need to get somewhere and how much you can risk getting into a fight. Rotate when the other side is easier to take with the numbers or util. On defense, path to get map control and information, and rotate when a site needs defending. I'm Coach LZGlowz. I hope this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next one.